If your faith is real, but your life's messy, this is for you. I'm Cece, and you're listening to Savage Jesus. This is for people who love God, but are tired of performing. We talk trauma, addiction, shame, anger, and what real discipleship looks like. Savage Jesus, for the wrecked, the raw, and the rising. Today's guest is Nichole Haugen. Nichole is a grief coach who works with people navigating some of life's most complicated losses. She specializes in helping people process grief in honest, grounded ways, particularly within the Catholic tradition. But her work reaches far beyond just one denomination. Nichole's story is not neat or simple. Within a few months, she lost both her parents, a grief that would shake anyone's foundation. But she was also navigating the shock of discovering financial infidelity within her marriage, something that deeply complicated her grieving process and forced her to wrestle with trust, anger, and healing all at once. Instead of hiding those realities, Nichole has chosen to talk about them openly. She believes people should know that grief doesn't follow tidy stages and faith doesn't remove pain, but God is still big enough to handle our anger, our questions, and parts of grief that don't sound spiritual at all. Through her coaching and writing, Nichole helps people bring their grief honestly before God, not pretending that everything's fine, but learning how to walk forward while carrying loss. Nichole, I'm really glad you're here. So while we kick off, just around, who you were before grief. So before everything changed, what did your life look like? And what would someone have assumed about you if they had not met you before all of this happened?
Yeah, I think people would probably just assume that I lived a very blessed life, right? Like everything just looked great. We had
Yeah,
6 kids, like our marriage looked good. I think
yeah,
just people would have been like, oh, what does she have to struggle with? Everything's fine in her life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what was your understanding of grief before it hit you personally?
Yeah, so I've been a hospice nurse. I worked as a hospice nurse for 10 years. So I had like the perspective of knowing kind of what it is to go through it. I helped a lot of people, with that dying stage. And
Yeah,
so I knew like the stages of dying. I knew what to expect with that. And I even had a few personal things that happened. Like I had
right,
a cousin who died when he was 15. He died during track practice. His heart just stopped. So
right.
I was, I think, 17 when that happened. And then
Yeah.
my grandparents had passed away. So I knew that.
Hmm.
But when it was just something about like when your parents die and when they
Yeah,
die that close together,
yeah,
there was just something that hit differently when that
yeah.
happened. And I think too, I mean, it can when you're young too and you don't have, or if you don't have kids, I think that
Mm.
it really hits. Like but then having kids myself, it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm the adult now. Like,
Yeah,
what do
yeah,
I do? Like, I'm the
yeah,
adult now. Like, you don't really
yeah,
have that place to turn to. So that was really shocking to me.
yeah. So just going back to your faith, what kind of faith did you have before grief? So was it something that was really strong and steady or something that was just in the background until, things changed in your life?
Yeah, so I think I was pretty faithful. I would say, like,
Yep,
in high school, I kind of faded away a little bit. Then
yep.
when I started having kids, I started diving deeper into my faith. I would listen
Hmm.
to like Catholic podcasts or EWTN. So I would
Yep.
listen to that. So it was more of like I would say like kind of an just a learning phase where I was just like learning more and more. And I would go to mass every Sunday. So I would say I was pretty full, but I would also say like I really didn't have a hard challenge against that
Right.
faith.
Right.
Yeah.
Until you lost your parents, and losing one parent is devastating enough, but you lost both in a really short window. What
Mhm.
did that season actually look like for you?
Yeah. So that it was it looked horrible. I don't,
Yeah,
it just looked really horrible. It was really hard.
yeah,
With my dad, it was an expected death. And so again, knowing, what that
yeah,
looks like, I kind of helped educate my siblings. So that was more of an expected death, but, you still have, like, s grief, obviously, but then a little bit of, like, guilt
Yeah.
of, like, well, I'm happy that they're no longer suffering and in pain, but I miss them. I want them here. Like, so
Yeah.
that, and then also with my mom, hers was just such an unexpected death that
Mm.
I just that hit me so hard. And we had had our sixth child like 6 weeks before my dad died. So we had our sixth baby,
Oh,
dad died, then mom died, then the
right.
financial stuff. And it was just like really trying to cope with life, just like really
Yeah.
trying day to day. Like, "Okay, I
Yeah.
can get up, do this, I can carry on." And what does
Mm.
that even look like to carry on
Yeah.
from this point
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. So, I guess what really surprised you about grief that nobody warns people about, because I think everyone's just got their own understanding or even their own expectation of how they would cope. You'd say, I'm going to grieve for X amount of time. And I think, because time's the healer. And you kind of have that expectation. But what was something that no one warns you about?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things was, like, and again, in hindsight, I probably should have recognized this, but it's like, "Oh, we hear about the
Yeah.
stages of grief." But they're
Yeah.
really not, like, they're not neat and tidy. They're really, like,
Yeah.
all over the place, and they can come
Mm.
and go within, like, a day.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, then you okay, I kinda, like, get a little respite, and then it's like it hits you all over again. So
Yeah.
that was one that really kinda shocked me. Another thing I had learned was that
Mm.
really the stages of grief are somebody who is like, going through the dying process. It's
Right.
not for those really left behind. So I was like, "Oh, that's why some of these don't really match up and fit with what I'm going through."
That's very
And then
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, like, I'd kinda learned that through the couple years after that, and then
Right.
another thing was that I had a really big expectation that people around me, specifically my husband, would know how to help me through it, and that felt
Yeah.
really crushing when he didn't know how to help me through it, and it was like, "Well, we've been
Yeah.
together since high school, like, how do you not know me?" But when I would
Yeah.
kind of pause and peel it back, it's like, "Well, I don't even know what I need today. Like, how is he supposed
Yeah.
to know what I need?" And again, that can change from moment to moment almost when
Mm.
you're grieving. So
Yeah.
that was another one that, like, it's still a learning curve of,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, what do I need? How do I communicate that to him? Or is this something
Yeah.
I can just take care of myself and loving myself through this? And then I think
Yeah.
too, another big one was, we hear like the first year, but it took a good 2 to 3 years for me really to process I mean, there was a lot of things that happened, but to really
Yeah.
process a lot of it, and it almost felt like a delay effect where, like, I was kinda, "Okay, okay, okay, okay," until it all kinda came crashing down, and, like,
Yeah.
I think too when we know typically, like, the holidays will be hard, but then there'd
Mm.
be times where it's like, oh, like, their death anniversary is coming up in 2 weeks, and I'm already struggling with it. So, like,
Yeah.
those things that kinda I were kind of unexpected. Like, it's like, okay, I know the death anniversary will be hard, but it was, like, before that it would
Before.
start
Yeah.
to hit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because you talk openly about bringing anger and grief to God, and a lot of people that I've spoken to feel really guilty about that because we have this expectation that God expects us to be able to handle it because everything belongs to Him. So, when we grieve, we're supposed to go, they are in a better place. So we're supposed to feel sort of happy in a weird way. So, when did you realize that you could talk to God and God could handle that kind of honesty? And how did your relationship with God change in those early months?
Yeah, so it was actually, like, my priest, my husband and I were meeting with him kinda, like, for some marriage counseling and stuff, and he had just said, "Hey, like, God is a big boy. There's nothing that you're gonna say that's gonna shake him, like,
Yeah.
you can bring it to him." And that just kinda gave me I think we look for permission. Permission
Yeah.
to be like, "It's okay to be angry," because
Yep.
I always tell people, like, God gave us all of the emotions. He didn't just
Yep.
give us joy and,
Yep.
like, "Oh, I'm organized and, like, all I
Yep.
have everything together." Like, he didn't just give us those, he gave us all of them. We act like toddlers and have little
Yep.
temper tantrums and,
Yep.
like, like, we don't have
Yeah.
good days, but we think, "Oh, I should only present, like, this good fun
Yes.
side of me to God and to everybody else. And really, it's like, no, God is really, really, He wants all of us. He wants all of our emotions. He wants all of the
Yes.
desires on our heart. Now, that
Yeah.
doesn't mean in my anger that I can do a sinful action, right? Like I
Mm.
can yell
Mm.
at my kids or I can yell at my husband, like, okay, then I should probably go to confession and be like, I messed up, like, or ask for
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
forgiveness. But it does mean, like, I'm allowed to feel angry, and
Mm.
that's okay. And
Yeah.
so just to give that to God and to turn to Him in that instead
Yeah.
of trying to hide it. And I don't know, growing up, I always heard, like, offer it up," and it's like,
Yeah.
what does that really mean? Well, to
Yeah.
really truly, because we always think, like, well, to offer it up, that means to suck it up, and that's
Yes.
not what God wants. He wants us to turn to Him and ask for help. Just like a
Yeah.
toddler trying to learn how to tie their shoe or zip up
Mm.
their coat, like, we want to help them, and that's how God
Yeah.
sees us. He wants to help us. He doesn't want us to struggle on our own.
Yeah, that's brilliant. But have you ever felt like you needed to hide parts of your grief from other Christians because it wasn't clean and tidy?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that a lot of times the phrase, like, "Oh, well, they're in a better place. They wouldn't
Yeah.
want you to feel sad." Like, those
Yeah.
really are a barrier to open
Mm.
communication, and and that's fine. I When I see that, I just see, okay, they're not my person that I'm gonna go to. I just
Yeah.
kinda, like, tidy it up and just, "Okay, thank you," like, and I've gotten better where I have a few go-to phrases where
Yeah.
in the beginning, people were pretty curious because, like, my mom, when she died tragically, so it was in the news and people heard about it
Mm.
and they asked questions, and I would just say, like, in hindsight, I wish I had known how to handle that and just be like,
Yeah.
"I don't wanna talk about that right now. Thank you, but, like, I'm busy with something else." So there's ways to go about it
Right.
without, chewing somebody out or, like,
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
like, "How dare you say that to me?" Like, well, a lot
Yeah.
of people just don't know. If they've never
Yeah.
gone through anything like that, they just truly don't know.
Yeah.
Or the other thing that I've realized is that if people have gone through something and they tell you things like that is because they haven't dealt with their own emotions from grief.
Right. Yeah.
And so they can't handle your emotions because they haven't handled their own. So I just
Yeah.
see that as just like, okay, nothing's gone wrong. I'm still allowed to have my feelings, but they're
Yeah.
allowed to be who they are. And I'm just not going to come to them with
Yeah.
things. And that's
Did
okay.
you ever feel guilty about not going to certain people? Possibly someone that you might have had a good relationship, but then they said something, and then you kind of had that, those phrases that you use to kind of go, well, I need to process this and I don't want to deal with, whatever you've got going on. Did you ever feel guilty about dealing with people in that sense?
Yeah. So I think a good example of that is like with my siblings, right? Because I have an older sister and a younger brother. And so we went through the same thing. We
Yeah.
lost our parents, but then we also went through it differently because I had
Yeah.
just had a baby. We had 6 young kids. My brother had 3 at the time.
Mm.
My sister doesn't have any kids. And so even just our life circumstances, like
Yeah.
we grieved it differently. And then I had the marriage stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
And so there were times where I felt like, well, and that's where, like, me telling myself, like, I should be able to rely on them. I
Yeah.
should be able, like, we went through this same thing. But I
Yeah.
just realized, like, my sister, she doesn't wanna talk about things. So talking about emotions are very hard for her,
Yeah.
and it's just like, I've come to the point where I'm just like, I love her for that, and I don't make it mean anything about our relationship. I still
Yeah.
reach out to her, she still reaches out to me, we get together, like, I just don't make it mean anything about our
Right.
relationship, and same with my
Yeah.
brother, like, he sometimes will talk about feeling things, but he kinda has those, like, more, "Well, they're in a better place," like, he kinda
Yeah.
does those, and it's like, "Okay, that's okay," like, and that's just where he's at, and so I just try to be there for him as well, and just in that
Yeah.
relationship and what that looks like. And so I think it's not taking on, kind of those, I should have a better relationship. They should be doing this for me, or
Mm.
I should be doing this for them, or they shouldn't say those things. Like, I trying to realize not to attach those onto relationships has helped a
To
lot.
relationships. Yeah, that's actually really interesting. You just talked about your marriage stuff and the financial infidelity. How do you deal with grief when it's complicated by betrayal, because that's quite a heavy combination. And how did those two things collide emotionally for you?
Yeah, so that is one for one, it's very ongoing
Mm,
because we have and I think too, we both chose to stay married. We both
yeah,
chose to be like, "Yes, we are going to work through this. There's gonna be hard conversations." So I think that's very important to see
yeah.
that there are other options because there is. I could find a
Mm,
priest who gives me a divorce and still even I could probably file for annulment, like, that is an option. However,
yeah,
that will be hard as well, and it's still hard to forgive and to work through that and to talk about
yeah,
resentments. So, it's choose your hard, and it's whatever I don't again, with different situations, different things, but for us, it was, "Okay, we're going to choose this marriage, we're gonna choose each other, we're gonna choose our family."
yeah,
And so just realizing that it's very ongoing. It's probably never going to be in a tidy, neat box. It's
yeah.
probably always going to be something that, like, I'm triggered by something and I have to have and I just feel it in my body, and it's like, I'll probably snap or be like, say something that, like, he's then triggered, and it's just, like, learning
Yeah,
how to handle that together, though, instead of really being like,
yeah.
we're each other's enemies. Like, no, we're on the same team and we're
Mm.
fighting this issue together. We aren't fighting each other.
Each other, yeah. So, what have you
Mhm.
learned about trust and forgiveness through this whole thing with your marriage?
Yeah, so I think as far as like the human level, I have learned that forgiveness is a choice just like any other feeling. And
Yeah,
trust is something that can be built up over time.
yeah,
But with that too, it still kind of is a feeling where it's like I can trust that what he says, he has good intentions behind it, where a lot of times I would be very, "Oh, he must be looking out for himself. Therefore, that's why he's," but realizing like, "Okay,
right.
I can forgive. Forgiveness is a conscious choice, just
Mhm.
like love is, and so I can forgive." And the trust takes a little bit of time. And I also think too that as humans, we all have trust issues ever since
Yeah,
the fall. We we all have
yeah,
trust issues. Specifically, I think with God too. So it's like it's really
yes,
taught me like trust is just huge in
yeah,
every relationship, especially with God. And if I don't have that built up first, then my
yeah.
other relationships are going to struggle even more.
Yeah. So, when we look at forgiveness and triggers, there's this misconception that forgiveness is kind of time stamped. So you've forgiven someone and you can sort of move on. What happens when you're triggered by something, another event that kind of brings back those old memories or, the old thing going, oh, this is probably this is what I'm trying to protect myself from because the last time I missed the signs, that happened. So I'm just going to get angry now. Yeah, so how do you deal with forgiveness is not being time boxed or time stamped, but it's an ongoing thing with triggers.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I have realized is for one to notice when that's happening in my body. So like getting good with feelings and recognize because our feelings are vibrations in our body. So knowing
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm triggered right now. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, pause. Like, what triggered me? Well, when he said this, I thought he was telling me this. And so
Right.
then it's like really just stating the truth in that and be
Mm,
like, okay, what is true? Well, the truth is he said these words, but he might not have meant this, so I should go ask him, and I should go talk to him
yeah.
about that. But also recognizing that there is another level, right? When somebody else is involved, like, we can't control their actions. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I've tried. It doesn't work. I'm really bummed about
I've
it.
tried to.
makes me really sad sometimes. But knowing that I can't control him,
Yeah.
but I can control me. And
Yeah.
that's what God put me here to do, is to learn
Yeah.
how to control my actions and my, oh, like I'm triggered. Why am
Mm.
I triggered? And then a lot of times too, what I've started doing like healing worksheets,
Yeah.
and it really brings it to the Lord and be like, oh, I'm so triggered because there's a wound from like my childhood or something that I didn't even know was there, and
Yeah.
allowing God into that space to heal that wound. Like, if you
Mm.
think of it like a tree where, like, the wound is, like, the roots, and then the tree branches
Yeah.
out. Well, like, my husband's getting the branches in the face because, like, this wound that I have. So it's
Yeah.
really learning, "Whoa, like, I have a wound, and it's taking care of that on my end to not let it overflow." And that doesn't mean my husband is always innocent or that he makes the best
Yeah.
choices, but it
Yeah.
gives me the space to kinda calm down and heal that instead of
Yeah.
attacking somebody else for that.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting visual, with the tree and the roots and just, getting smacked in the face because you haven't healed the roots. But I guess for someone like me, so with my husband, sometimes when I get angry, I do end up running my mouth. So I don't have the time or the patience to go. I need to kind of think about my triggers because but before that, my mouth's already run miles ahead, and I've said a bunch of things. Then I go, oh, I wish I didn't say that. What would you say to someone who's in that phase? Kind of learning to stop and pause and reflect on themselves first before, kind of opening your mouth.
Yeah, I like to say, like, for the first thing is, like, awareness, right? Like, if you can
Yeah,
be like, "Oh, yeah, shoot, I did that." Like,
yeah.
okay, so we're aware of it. And we talk in coaching, it's called, like, the river of misery. We're like, "Okay, I see the problem, and I want the problem 100% fixed.
Yeah.
So I need to swim through the river of misery to get to, like, what I think
Yeah.
is, like, the perfect person." And we're never gonna be the perfect person, which is okay. But to just see that, oh, this keeps coming up. Like,
Mm.
and then too, I like to apologize, like, I like to, for the things that need apologizing for. Now, if there's something that, okay, like, I caught you in a lie, I'm not going to
Mm.
apologize that I caught you in a lie, or even that, like, I feel betrayed.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna apologize for that. But now
Mhm.
if, like, you didn't immediately apologize and you said these things too that I felt then you were defending that and you weren't being honest with me, okay, well, then I started yelling at you and I slammed the door, and, like, okay, I can apologize for the yelling and the slamming of the door because I
Yeah.
don't wanna show up that way. I want to be calmer, but also realizing, like, there are certain truths that I don't
Mm.
need to apologize for. And it takes time, it takes practice. I'm still practicing that, and
Yeah.
it's just, I think too, like, to realize, like, again, this is a work in progress. We're always gonna be a work in progress
Yeah.
until we die. So it's
Yeah.
just knowing that we're not behind. It's okay. Everybody's learning new things all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. That's actually really good because would you say that your journey has been part of the healing inside of a marriage when trust has been damaged? All those little things, those learnings, those steps that you've talked about, do they all form part of the healing within the marriage?
Yeah, and I think too it's recognizing that, oh, I really liked this. This worked well. This helped both of us versus this didn't really work so well. And so I think it's always, again, like, it's a learning process. And so just like, when kids are in school, there's some kids that learn verbally, there's some that learn
Mm.
by sight, there's some, so I think too, just recognizing, like, that's the same when it comes to learning in your marriage and with forgiveness, is there's all different things that can work. And there's so many tools out there too to help.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what still catches you off guard emotionally, and how do you care for yourself when those triggers come back or when those waves come back?
Yeah. So I think a lot of what catches me off guard is thinking that I should be over this and that it shouldn't be catching
Yeah.
me off guard.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
it kind of sneaks up on me and
Yep.
catches me off guard. But just so my dad's birthday is coming up this
Mhm.
week. And just knowing like, okay, his birthday's coming up, like just having a plan helps me a lot. Um I
Yeah.
think just taking kind of the guesswork out of it helps, and in the beginning, I would plan, like, a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. So, like, plan A would be like, "Okay, I wanna do something with just our family. I want to
Yep.
go get ice cream to remember my dad," like, and just maybe share a memory. Plan
Yeah.
B would be like, I yeah, it's a bad day. I don't even wanna get out of bed. I'm gonna cancel all
Mm.
my things. I'm gonna just take care of myself. I'm gonna read a book. I'm gonna do the things that I love. And
Yep.
then plan C might be something kinda like a mix in between, right? Where, like, maybe you
Yeah.
don't even mention it, but you know, but maybe tell your spouse, like, "This day, I just need extra hugs," or, "I just want
Yeah.
you to maybe leave me alone, like, today."
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
so kind of a mix of, like, just how I might be feeling. I try to have a plan for each of those. And then what I've realized is like when I can anticipate that, or like when I have an option for each of those, then it doesn't catch me off guard so much. Now saying that
Right.
things still do sometimes catch me off guard, but then again, it's just again that awareness of like, oh, it's probably because dad's birthday is coming up. I'm feeling a little bit more
Mm.
emotional. That's okay. This is what I'm gonna do for the rest of the week to help with that.
Yeah.
And really that all starts with knowing what you love and what you
Mm.
enjoy.
Mm.
And that I always tell people, write down 20 things that you love and enjoy, and it does not have to be extravagant. It can be,
Yep.
I love coffee, I love anything peppermint, I love ice cold water, I love I
Yep.
love reading, I love laying in my bed or taking a nap, so it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
anything that costs a lot of money. It can be very simple
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. What happens when someone, so, you talked about there's plan A, plan B, plan C. If you want to go get ice cream to remember your dad with your family, what happens when your family is not up for your plan? How does
Mm.
that work for you? Because, sometimes kids or your husband or your partner, whoever it is, might go, well, no, no, I don't want to do this. You're on your own. How do you deal with something like that?
Yeah, so I try to always, so that has happened in the past where then I'm like, I'm really bummed out or I'm disappointed or
Yeah.
I don't go follow through with it because like, well, I planned for all of us to go, so we all have to go and we all have to enjoy it and the kids have
Yeah.
to show up a certain way and nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
But now I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's pretty unrealistic.
Mm.
So I just like, I would love to go do this. Do you guys want to go with me or do you guys want to stay home? So I try to like again not put expectations on other people
Right.
on what I need, but
Yeah.
knowing, okay, I really need this. So I'm going to follow through and show myself that I'm taking care of myself,
Yeah.
whether or not anybody else around me
Shows
shows
up.
up for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. So we can talk a little bit about your work as a grief coach. What led you to become a grief coach instead of just privately processing your own story?
Yeah, I think the more I told my story, the more people were like, "Oh my gosh, like that's a lot." So I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, it is a lot." And when I talk with people, I realize that there's no blueprint for
Mm.
grieving. And, we hear certain things, but everybody looks so differently that
Yeah.
then if you read something or you see something you're like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. And we already
Mm.
kind of feel like we're grieving wrong because the emotions are just all over the place.
Yeah.
So it already feels wrong to begin with. And then we tell ourselves we're doing it wrong. And it just
Yeah.
feels awful. Like it
Yeah.
feels awful. So it
Yeah.
was really just recognizing like that everybody is so different in this
Mm.
that there really isn't a book that you can read. Like, when somebody's dying, you can look at it and be like, most likely these are the stages of death that will happen. Or when you
Yeah.
go to have a baby, they're like, what to expect when you're expecting. Like
Yeah.
with grief, it really truly does feel all over the place. And I just really want to help people in that and where they're at
Yeah.
and learning tools on how to care for yourself because we really do think everybody around us should help and should see
Mm,
what we're going through, and people just don't. Like, we just
yeah,
as humans, we're kind of self-centered, which is okay, but we
yeah,
really think that other people should be helping us, and they don't, or they can't, or
yeah,
they just don't see it, and
yeah.
so just to really help people take care of themselves.
Yeah, that's brilliant because I think with grief or with anything, we place a lot of expectation on someone else on how they need to show up for what we're going through. Just in terms of that, what do people misunderstand the most about grief when they come to you?
I think that most people that come to me are like, "Is this normal?" And
Yeah.
every time I feel like, "Yes, that's normal."
Yeah.
Because it just does go against everything as humans, like, in our
Mm.
brain, we want to feel safe, we
Yeah.
want to exert at least amount of energy as possible, and we want to seek pleasure, and so grief goes against
All of that.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything, and so it's like, yes, this is normal, it's just your brain just is struggling to figure
Yeah.
out what is happening.
Yeah. What are some of the things someone else might say to a grieving person that can make them kind of go backwards in their grieving process?
I think a lot of people and again, people mean well, but when they say
Mm.
like, "Oh, just call me if you need anything." And that can put that kinda the ball in the person who's grieving's court when they're again, they're just, like, kinda
Right.
drowning and it's like, "Well, here, catch." Like, okay, like, so
Yeah,
things like
that's very
that.
interesting. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's something I've said as well, call
Mhm.
me if you need something. And I've never once thought of it like that. Sorry, yeah, just go
Yeah.
on, please.
Yeah, and I again, people mean well when they say that because
Yeah,
they really do want you to call them, but when you can't figure out what is happening in your world, like, you don't even know what to call them and say, "Hey," like, you're just like, "I need help." Like
yeah,
like, "I just need help." So, what I
yeah,
tell people is, like, a good thing to do is to be especially, like, in those first kind of months, be like, "Hey, I'm here for you. Like,
yeah.
do you wanna meet up for coffee? I'm free at this time." Or, "Can I pick up groceries for you? Can I come and help you? Like, I would love to help you with any laundry if you have laundry, or can I bring you a meal? Like, I'll bring you a meal at this time," right? Like, to kinda state a few options of how you can help instead
Right.
of placing all of that decision making on the person who's grieving.
Right. Okay, that's very interesting. So just being really clear and being quite action focused, so saying things like, I can pick up your kids today from school, rather than just going, call me if you need something, because I've said that so many times and I've gone, well, I'm there for them for whatever they want, not realizing that that's a lot of pressure on someone who's grieving. That's
Yeah.
actually really brilliant. I've never thought of it. But in terms of, saying the right things and doing the right things, what does healthy support also look like for someone who's grieving and for someone who can support that grieving person, whether it's a friend, an acquaintance, or, someone in the workplace? What would that look like?
Yeah, I think just being open with, like, being vulnerable of like, "I am here for you," right? And, like, sometimes it is, like, giving them be like, "Hey, I can help you with this if that helps you out," like,
Yeah.
but it could also be like, "I'm really thinking about you today," and just shooting them a text message that says or even,
Okay.
like, just walking by and be like, "Hey, I'm really thinking about you today, like, how are you
Yeah.
feeling?" Because, like, I do think that, you know, we don't want to I think when you see somebody grieving, we don't want to add on more grief, and sometimes we think, "Oh, if I ask them about their loved one or they like, that might make it worse." And
Right.
that person who had somebody pass away, they're thinking about them all the time anyway.
Yeah.
And so to just, like, stand beside them in that instead of making like, a lot you just feel isolated, but being like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm here with you. I'm also thinking about you. I see you're struggling. Like, hey, can I go pick you up a cup of coffee?" Like, or no, like, whatever their favorite drink is. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I really like, I'm just really thinking about you. And I think that just like
Yeah.
saying that can help a lot to make you
Yeah.
feel less
So
alone.
So would it be okay for me, let's say I've got a friend who's lost someone who's lost either their partner or their parent. For me to say, I'm thinking about you and just thinking about the times that we had with, whoever they've lost, would that cause more damage or would that actually cause them to feel like they're supported? Because obviously, as someone who's trying to support someone grieving, you don't want to say the wrong thing and you don't want to say, I think about them when in your mind, you're going, well, I don't know if that's going to make them feel worse about it and, just bring back all these horrible memories rather than feeling like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about them. So it's nice that my friend also thinks about my parents or my partner or whatever.
Yeah, so I think just asking the person is helpful because like for me, so
Yeah.
there's been times where like I have never been upset when somebody texts me to like check in or be like, "Hey, like I know it's your mom's birthday. I'm thinking about her today or I was thinking about this memory." Now, sometimes if I wasn't really it wasn't in the forefront of my mind and I know
Yeah.
it's like their birthday and then somebody texts me and then I might feel like a wave of sadness.
Mm,
But I also like I would rather still have them text that memory to me and
yeah.
feel the sadness than not have it and be like, "Nobody remembered her birthday," or "Nobody thought
Yeah.
about her." Like, so I say that to be like, you could also ask, like, a friend or, a
Mm,
coworker to be like, "Are you okay if I message you and just share, like some memories every once in a while when you're on
yeah.
my mind?" Or I
Yep.
have a cousin where her husband passed away last year, and every once in a while I'll just send her like a heart emoji and she'll just
Yeah.
send one. But it's just like our way to be like, I'm just thinking about you and like you
Yeah.
don't have to respond. And I always let them know too, like, you don't have to respond, you don't have to send a thank you. You don't just if this helps you, I want to help you.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually really good because yeah, I don't think all of us, unless you've gone through it and are quite open the way you are, we wouldn't know the right things to say because obviously people that are around someone who's grieving don't want to say the wrong thing at all and you don't want to make it worse. So we're all trying and sometimes failing quite miserably. So this has been really, really good. Just in terms of your faith in the middle of grief and with people that are grieving, how has your Catholic faith shaped the way you approach suffering and loss?
Oh yeah. So it really has made me realize that there is a purpose to suffering. And
Yeah.
and there are times where I kind of again, I like kind of go into my pouty pants, like I act like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum where I'm just like,
Yeah.
this isn't fair. I don't want to
Yeah.
have to do this. Why did I get this hand in life?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
every time I pause and I connect it to Jesus and his
Mm,
suffering, I instantly feel better. Instantly. And it's
okay.
not like it goes away, right? Like I still like life is still hard and it's
Yeah.
still lots of times where I just like feel crushed in grief, but
Yeah.
I instantly feel some sort of relief. And it just
Yeah.
always amazes me how some it takes me a while sometimes where I'll be like for
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
days, I'll just be like, "This sucks and I don't wanna do this anymore and I'm not gonna pray about it because I'm mad about it."
Yeah.
Then when I kinda get out of that, it's like, "Oh, I should have done that sooner. I should have
Yeah.
I should have given it to the Lord sooner because
Yeah.
he always makes me feel better."
So, what is prayer in the middle of a time like that? So, you call it a temper tantrum, but you know it's not because it's just our normal emotions and being honest with God. What does prayer look like in the middle of that temper tantrum?
Yeah, and most of the time it's like you can't pray, right? When you're
Yeah.
high in emotions because it's
Mm,
like you're like a puff fish, right? Where they puff out and
yep. Yep.
you can't pray when you have to calm down your nervous system first. So
Yeah.
I and again, I'm a coach. I work with people and their emotions and feelings all the time and I still struggle with it and I'm still
Yeah.
like but I don't wanna deal with the emotions. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's really just noticing, okay, I'm having a stress response. I'm my nervous system is kind of just stressed out right now. That's okay.
Mm,
But like again, it's that awareness of that, seeing that, and then
yeah.
being like, okay, like this isn't something on me. This isn't bad. Like now I can pray. So it really is like calming down first
Yeah.
and then being able to pray.
So, what would you tell God in that moment? So, if someone was listening and they are, kind of stuck in that going, it's been a while now, and I haven't been able to pray, the most I've been able to do is grunt. and, kind of hope that God kind of understands, which he does.
Yeah.
But, and they want to get back into praying. What would a prayer look like in that moment?
Yeah, it for me, it's varied from anything from just, like, "Jesus, I trust in you," which is just
Mm,
a short, like, "Okay, like, I'm still mad about it, I'm still upset, but, like,
yeah,
Jesus, I trust in you." And sometimes too, it is really just, like, kind of venting in my mind to God
yeah,
about the unfairness of all of it and just
mhm,
being like, "And that's all I have today. Like,
yeah,
that's it. That's all I have."
yeah,
And I just try to be really honest with him and just be like, "All I have today is anger.
yeah,
But I'm giving you my anger." And then again, I instantly just kind of feel calmer and better and or sadness, right? I'm just like,
yeah,
all
yeah,
I feel is this life feels so heavy right now. I feel so sad,
yeah,
but I'm gonna give you that sadness. So that's often my prayers. I'm just giving you this emotion that I feel that I can't really get rid of.
yeah. So what is God with you in grief? A lot of people say that. What does that actually look like in real life through prayers, through everything, through honesty?
Yeah, I think it has kind of shifted as time has gone on. In the beginning, a lot of my prayer was just, Lord, help me through this day. Like, Jesus, I trust in you. It was just really like surviving all of the things. And now as time has gone on, it really is just trying to be or practicing being vulnerable with him
Yeah.
and just really and it does help me to have a pretty set prayer routine. So then when hard days do come, I'm like,
Mm,
okay, like I'm not gonna do this today, but I know I'm gonna do this part. Like, so having a kind
yeah.
of a prayer routine and a set thing does help. And I think too, knowing that God understands that we go through seasons of dryness and
Yeah.
seasons of, oasis in our prayer life,
Yeah.
and does he understands that. He
Yeah.
loves humans. He loves our humanness.
Yeah.
His son was a human, so
Yeah.
he loves our humanness.
So if someone was listening right now who's just lost someone they love, what would you want them to know?
I would want them to really focus on what helps them get through the day because we kind of have a natural
Mm,
inclination to be like, okay, today I need to do this and this and this, but really like what really helps you? What helps you feel a little bit of joy? What helps you like what do you enjoy? And again, even if it's just like ice water, like
yeah.
I love ice water. Like, okay,
Yeah.
let's just focus on the 1%. Let's just focus
Yeah.
on for this next week, 2 weeks, like getting like 1%
Yeah.
taking better care of yourself, 1% closer to God. We don't have to sprint there. Like the things will come. So it's really just focusing on just little things.
Yeah. Oh, that's really, really good. So where can people find you if they want support or want to learn more about your work? I'm going to put the link in the bio as well, just on the episodes. So, but yeah.
Yeah, so you can find me at catholicgriefcoach.com. And then also I have a podcast called The Catholic Grief Coach, and that has a lot of, again, good tips and information
Yeah.
on the different types of grief and the different kind of just things that keep coming up and to
Yeah.
talk people through that as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for sharing your story. I think the biggest thing I'm taking away from this conversation is that grief isn't something we fix, it's something we learn to carry. And also supporting someone with grief with quite specific ways and asking them how they want to be supported through grief. And also that faith doesn't mean pretending that we're okay. Sometimes it just means walking into God's presence with questions, anger, and heartbreak. Thank you for reminding us of all of that today. It was really lovely talking to you. Was there anything else you wanted to share with our listeners?
I think just to find something or somebody who supports you. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of times where we reach out to a friend and maybe they don't say the thing that we expected. So we just kind of stop reaching out to altogether.
Yeah.
But just keep keep searching for that because we are made for companionship. We do
Yeah.
need each other. And so it is a beautiful thing when we find it and we are able to connect on a deeper level. So just keep searching for that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nicole. Hey, thanks for listening. This has been Cece. and this is Savage Jesus. If something in this episode named what you've been carrying, don't rush past it. And if you want more of this, like, share, and follow Savage Jesus for the wrecked, the raw, and the rising.